Hi, friends. Thank you for checking in. This is Glenn Lyvers. These are the Prolific Press Poets. Today is March 2023's poetry reading. April Fools, we're doing it on April 1st. Thank you all for coming to visit, and we hope you enjoy this. We're going to kick things off with Gloria Caviglia.
Hi, everyone. A quick haiku. I wrote with passion and thought I was a poet. Then I read your words. I wrote with passion and thought I was a poet. Then I read your words. And a little spring April poem. Just how did those mystics do it? Sacrificing tortured souls, eyes pointed heavenward to avoid temptation, while we mere mortals struggle and yet so easily fall. Our confessions for all to see. An empty box of Girl Scout Thin Mint cookies. That's in honor of the Girl Scouts who sell their cookies in April.
All right. Bob Moreland is coming in. Okay, and let's go ahead and move on to Ken Jones, please. Thank you, Gloria.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Glenn. Are we reading one or two today, Glenn?
Two, usually. Yep.
Okay, thank you. So I have one. My first one is called Asteres Planetae, which is the word planet means wanderer, so it's wandering star. It strikes me that there is much to commend wandering. The Greeks knew the random nature of events wasn't that, in fact, and drifting in the tide is not as aimless as you might think. Periodicity doesn't have to be regular. Synchronicity doesn't have to keep the same time. Eccentricity doesn't have to be elliptical. But what else they knew, the ancients, was that things did recur and things did happen simultaneously and things were cyclic because that's how it was. And they knew too that such a thing as spring will come again in time. This, my second one, we just got a rescue dog, a collie, a rough collie like Lassie. So I wrote this after I was watching him when he wasn't sure if I was. It's called Rolling. Morning, and I watch as the dog rolls in the dew, scattering leaves, beads of water casting rainbows in the chill, still air, making that self-satisfied grunting noise that dogs make when no one is watching, lost in their own world. I stand, shake my head, try to slough off this feeling of reluctant mourning, clear the clawing strands of abandoned dreams. The dog watches, dispassionate, and wonders idly why I am not rolling in the dew. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ken. That's really nice. Since you just opened that door, I'm going to read a real quick dog poem, and then Mary Gunn will go next. Called Mother Sends a Dog. Fog hems the ochre backwater, hollow and deathly misplaced like hoarfrost on coffin handles. A penny tragedy unfolds as the lodestar fades against the breaking of a wailing sky, its lightning birthing long shadows, flashes against a sea of granite flags, the broken rear guard. We are instant saints, lifting mother's ornate box. Our scuffing boots mimic the sounds of dragging a girl to the cadence of father's walking stick, its distant tapping calling her home. Then suddenly a red dog appears, running wildly between tombstones, its body pulsing to the rhythm of its sagging tongue, and a girl no more than 7 kneels with a glass of water, smiling as the irreverent dog drinks loudly. Gerald Norland and Maggie Ripberger are sitting down. One moment. Mary, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Well,
Do you want me to read?
yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I've just got two haiku. The first one is it's cherry blossom time here, so this is one of the first haiku I ever wrote. Small grey and white cat climbs a neighbour's cherry tree. Perfect viewing spot. Small grey and white cat climbs a neighbour's cherry tree. Perfect viewing spot. And my second one is when no one is looking, Grandma spoons in the sugar. When no one is looking, Grandma spoons in the sugar. Grandma was a diabetic, so she was always spooning in the sugar. That second one was published, I'm not quite sure where. I think it might have been in, there's a new Irish journal called Seashores. I think it might have been there, a new haiku journal. Been on the go about
Wonderful.
5 years. But that's
Yeah,
the
I
end of
like
my
the
reading.
surprise of that. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Lynette Esposito, please. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay. This is Lynette Esposito from Mount Laurel, New Jersey. It's spring, so I did some poems on children. And yes, it is about my grandchildren. I admit it. Granddaughter. When you are 2, no is your favorite word, and kisses are magic. The sky is always blue with cotton clouds. When it rains, you sing, go away, go away. And it does. I am lifted by your belief that all is well or will be. Kisses make it better, even if it still hurts. You are a child of light for such a short time. I sing, don't go away. Don't go away. But you do. And then the second one is Child Amongst the Wildflowers. The meadow is abloom with spring colors. Birds sing as if the newness has never happened before. A small child discovers grass. I discovered joy watching him in the open field at the early beginning of his life, laughing as if this could go on forever. The sun sets in all its beauty at the horizon, as if pulling an eyelid over its eye. The child runs from the dark.
Very nice. Thank you for that. Okay, Emily, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Emily. I'm in Klamath Falls, Oregon, which is 70 miles from Crater Lake, and it's snowing. It has been for months. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to share the screen. Let me see if I can manage how to do that. Oh, I see. Okay, we'll start with this one. Okay, I have 2 poems. Crematorium. There is no train station. You can park on Main Street. It's a real office. They scowled at me when I stopped by with my dog and reported a security light was out. The man dressed in pressed khakis, a button-down shirt, hushed environment. Family groups congregate, then enter to arrange for grandfather's remains. The electric furnace roars out back, a human kiln. The ashes cool, later collected in a silver-plated urn, solemnly presented almost with a bow. The owner tilts his head a little. We're sorry for your loss. Contract discreetly signed. A new hearse is parked at the rear industrial doors. Business has been good this year. Thank you. Let me see if I can figure out how to do the other one. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this one. There we go. Okay. Morning travails. A girl was carrying a cat wrapped in a blanket in the door, tears streaming down her face. The receptionist leaped up to take it. I left to buy 2 donuts from the drive-thru down the street. By the time I returned, 2 more desperate cats were brought in. A snowy cold morning, a Thursday of injuries, trucks in the ditch on the highway, road shut down at the pass. Sugar thudded in my temple. My dog's cut got sewn. The sun sliced through the clouds for a moment, glaring in my eyes. My dog whimpered a little. Traffic was light in the slush of the streets. A day of wounded animals. Donuts sold out by 8. Come back tomorrow early. I paid my bill. The crying girl went home. I was too stuffed to eat lunch.
Thank you for that. Mike Flanagan, please.
Okay, in honor of Dog Day, I tend to write Tonka, which are just 5-liners. And I'm still trying to pull up my doggie. Oh yeah, I have a rescue dog. She's kind of just a mutt. And lady cannot hide her doggy delight with her new Chewy, and she must be outside to gloat over her friends. Lady cannot hide her canine delight with her new Chewy, and she must be outside to gloat over friends. And this is kind of a memory from a while back. Our cherry tree never really grew very much, just a tall twig with blossoms and cherries so tart they made you blink. Our cherry tree never really grew very much, just a tall twig with blossoms and cherries so tart they made you blink.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Ron Lavalette.
Okay, thanks. Welcome to Vermont, where it also snows most of the year. We're not quite through that yet, but I thought I'd share this poem called Sundress, about when those days the sun actually shines and the snow is gone. Sundress. This was published a while back in the Red Wolf on the Red Wolf Journal online. Excuse me. She thinks about how she looks in a sundress, puts it on and steps on out onto Main Street, pushes her baby's stroller down past the creamy stand where the hunks hang out, admiring each other's tattoos and planning their romantic assaults on the wide-eyed waitress at the Valley House, making bets on who among them is most likely to get to second base first. She knows she doesn't stand a chance of catching their full attention or holding it very long, but she's hoping there's enough breeze to flutter her sundress, lure at least one of them into a second look, hold his eyes long enough so that her red hair and lipstick sends him a green light, tempts him to come on over and chat her up. But the baby stroller she's pushing is working against all that. Sundress or no, lipstick or not, she knows she's made her bed. She just doesn't want to sleep in it alone. And for a second poem, I hadn't planned on reading two, but when Glenn said two, I pulled one out in a totally different vein. This was published last year in May online at the Drabble, called Civil Reengineering. We should hand everybody a mirror. Tell them to have a good long look and ask if that's who they really want to be. We should offer everybody a rifle, see who's interested in having one, and hand them the mirror again instead. We should give everyone a photo album with photos of everyone else's family. We should buy a planetary dinner table. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Very nice. Okay, so I'm going to read another quick one, and we're going to go to James Bethel. I've been, since I got the COVID, I've been really introspective, and I went back to a poem that I wrote like just ages and ages ago, and thought I'd read it since it's the April Fool's Day, and it's just maybe a little bit sillier than normal. To put it in context, I'm from a Catholic family, and I have an older sister, an older brother, two older brothers, and a twin brother. I'm an identical twin, and so we all teased each other just absolutely horribly. And this poem's called "No Rhyme for Greg." It's only 6 lines long. Gale the whale, Gary the fairy, Toddy the waddy is a big fat snotty. We never found a rhyme for Greg. If you have it to do, name your son Greg. Okay, James.
Thank you, Glenn. That's fun. I have two today. Both are recent and very much in process. I'm not sure how they'll actually wind up. This first one is entitled Old Dead Guys. Why is it, my students have asked, are we so preoccupied with the old dead guys? The ones we tell them to read and who wrote the music played in concert halls? Not to mention the folk music fossils that are featured on PBS during the fundraising. Or the painters. Ah, yes, the painters. Why Wyeth? Lighthouses? Really? Well, yes, those dead guys. Well, I think the why is that they, the old dead guys, and the women, have never left us. Nor will they. In a world where so many insist there is no meaning in it, they continue to affirm that which we deny. We poets, if I may speak for the arts in the broadest sense, do what we do hoping that someday, somehow, someone will read, experience, something like the Epiphany, the ecstasy with which we were gifted when that saving light came to the moment of our creative expression. We never know, of course, or if, whether such a future moment ever occurs. Guessing about this, the closest we can get perhaps is when we are moved by what we read or heard or saw last night or this morning in that book that somehow got published, allowing us to return to it again. This return to the epiphanic may be what keeps us engaged. It is a rather narrow path with an even narrower gate, in that such ideation carried by subliminal states comes unbidden into the present experience. It teaches, like the beam from that lighthouse, it cannot be found in the past, nor projected into some dreamt of future. That epiphany, that ecstasy, that blessing is a guide to the present moment. This one is brand new almost. It's in response to a lovely person that I've just recently encountered, a woman by the name of Sophie Strand, who's just published a book called The Flowering Wand, Rewilding the Sacred Masculine. And I recommend it highly to you if you can find it. This is entitled Before Songs. Before songs became notions, Dionysus sang and danced the trees into bloom, spread flowers like seeds, disrupted city committees, and with the slightest glance created havoc with such beauty that the young and the very old fell immediately into love. Before songs became notions, there was never a time when there was no music. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Nicely done. Okay, Dennis. Dennis Malsby, please.
I've got a couple of free range unpublished haiku for you. The courting storm hangs crystal earrings on the trees. The courting storm hangs crystal earrings on the trees. Crossing the pasture, Angus cattle start a staring contest. Crossing the pasture, Angus cattle start a staring contest.
Thank you for that. All righty. Edward Ahern, please.
Okay, I've got two as well. One, they're both recent, one serious, one not, and you can figure out which is which. The first one is called Footsies. I have never been enamored of feet. Drinking from a just used slipper seems smelly and toe jammy, and pedicures are wasted once the feet are reshod. And portraitists almost never paint below the waist. Although I do wonder if cannibals viewed gnawing on boiled feet with the same relish as those who love to eat chicken claws. And the other one is called Visitations. My son arrived just now, his son in tow. Our meetings are too few to keep abreast of how our lives have shifted tone and flow and how we had to change as we were stressed. The love still shared was born with traits now foe, yet it abides in changeling sympathy. Our differences are gulches set below the bridging skeins of trust and empathy. For there's no judgment shown by we who know we cannot let the facts malform the true. Its basking warmth enabling us to glow in spite of lives that wandered off askew.
Very nice. And I can't help but think when I was a child, you guys remember Saturday morning cartoons? There was just always this, that was a big deal, right? And it seems as though there was always cannibals throwing somebody in a great big cauldron pot, right? I thought that as I grew up, cannibals were going to be a bigger problem than they are. KB.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you. And I'm excited to let you know that my new book is out called Spirit of Wild. So if you're interested in that, it is available, and I will be reading from it. And I've changed one of the poems since we seem to be on dogs. So this one is called Joy. Mud crusts her paws, silky underbelly matted with knots, tangles of gold caked brown. She whines, nudges my face as I bend to brush away the labor of her day. She squirms under my touch and gnaws a twig, pieces of bark stuck to her muzzle. day uncluttered, unconcerned, she lopes through leaves, dodges joggers, licks the kids' faces. She sees a squirrel and gives chase, barks a warning and a greeting. Her head lolls, tongue flapping as I scratch her sides. Her panting eases, and she snuffles before her eyes close, tail twitching in ecstasy. Would that I could breathe so free, to greet strangers as friends, find happiness in a broken stick. Thanks. And this one is after Mary Oliver. It uses a line from her. The line from her is the almost unhearable sound of the roses singing. And that's what started this poem called Songlight. I listen for the almost unhearable sound of the roses singing and sense the almost unfeelable silk of the leaves greening. Apple blossoms frisk as light shifts, brightens, lingers. Blank gray days forgotten, except for the slight bite of morning's breeze, hope tinkling in the chimes. My neighbor waves, dazed after another night at his mother's bed, visible darkness drifting behind his eyes. The restless wind whispers, courage. Up and down the street, dogs greet joggers in a raucous crescendo that stutters to a stop. Robins dimple the yard for worms, and the wren, the plain brown wren, pipes and trills until my very skin vibrates, sighs with the sun. Last season crumbles, swept away by the almost all around me. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice. Gary Silva, please.
Okay, I think I unmuted. Yeah. I just wanted to say that I'm on a sort of a sabbatical from writing. I turned 77. I'm really ancient, I know. But that I'm sort of reviewing all my poems to kind of decide where I want to go as I write towards the future and which style I want to work with, haiku, tanka, sonnets, whatever. So I've been reviewing poems. So this poem I'm going to read is a couple years old, and it was published in Poetry Quarterly, I think, in 2022, maybe. And it's called Crazy Bicyclist Haiku. So it's actually a poem. So I won't read it twice because it's a bunch of stanzas, but they are like little haiku, and it does have a thread, I think. So, and picture me in my bicycle helmet with my sunglasses and still wearing my mask while I'm on the bicycle outside, and in a yellow jacket. So I'm already feeling a little crazy. So, and they're not really haiku. I think they're more like shenryu because they're a little quirky. We'll see. Crazy bicyclist haiku. The asphalt I pass over is a quiet friend of the universe, like me. My front tires, a snake with its tail and its sharp mouth, spokes piercing its skin. I wear a helmet because if I don't, my soft head would crack like an egg. The pedestrians on the sidewalk are staring at me like a germ. I'm faster than birds. I know this because I leave their songs in the wind. A black cat sitting in the street. No car better cross while we're watching. We have no window. No need. The air surrounds us. So does everything. We travel so fast, we break the sight barrier, the fourth dimension. Small object pings ground. A piece of my bicycle? No. Crow cracking nuts. Up one hill and down the other side, all coasting, even birds jealous. My friends don't see me, helmeted, masked up, sunglassed, naked under clothes. The blue sky revolves overhead while the hard ground brooks no compromise. Home again, the bike rests on its kickstand. My feet touch the earth. Too bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Linda Embler, please. Also, KB, make sure that you please go to the YouTube later today on our Facebook page and post a link to your book so that we can see where that is and stuff. You have to unmute yourself, Linda. Okay, we'll come back to you. Doug Van Hooser.
Hi, everybody. I'm in
Doug.
Wisconsin where it snowed yesterday, or pardon me, we had thunderstorms yesterday and today it snowed. So the first poem I'm going to read is called Chocolate or Perhaps Caramel. Today I want to resolve nothing. I'm tired of the tug of war. The rope slips and burns my hands. I want to watch the birds play in the bare branches, think it is spring, walk down the sidewalk without the pain of a stone in my shoe, trip in what I don't expect, fall, and not bother to get back up. Follow in the footsteps of someone who shifts, shimmies, and obviously does not know where they are going. Or maybe it's they don't care. Or maybe they stumble away from what they do know. Be someone who does not expect frosting. That's the problem. I want a sweet life. Not one of meat and potatoes, a daily dirge that winds the clock and sets alarms, routine's constant tinnitus. I want to quit tacking and run with the wind. Let the sails billow and pull me through today's sieve, unstrained by do's and don'ts. Let desire sow a down comforter. Allow me to wallow like a melting pat of butter. Build a smoky, cackling, spark-spitting bonfire. The flames heat a lullaby. Stress fractures soothed. And the second poem is supposed to be kind of fun. A brief memoir. Back when I was somebody wanting to be someone, a shallow creek ran through me. It gargled instead of babbling. And I was okay with that since I was nothing more than a piece of chocolate candy in a box of chocolate candies. It's a sweet memory, but a little gooey when I chew on it. I lived in a vacuum sealed off from the nuts and bolts of life. Now it's a room congested with the phlegm of 50 years. I look over my shoulder, but try to avoid turning around, afraid I will spin like a merry-go-round, returning to the same point and going by it again and again. The first thing I collected were baseball cards. Ever smiling Ernie Banks and iron whipping Luis Aparicio, followed by marbles, cat's eyes, puries, and boulders. Then desires named Lucinda, Marnie, and Kathy. Apparitions my mind touched, my hands stuck in my pockets. Beer was the magic ingredient I discovered and added to every dish, making a lasso out of my noose. Eventually, like a tree peony, I matured and bloomed for a week, but was just a bush with lackluster leaves mostly. And I went dormant, slept with my eyes open for decades, made friends that melted like snowballs except for a few apples that stayed green when they ripened. Blundered many hands, losing with three of a kind and even a full house. It did draw to an inside straight one time. I always wonder, what was she thinking? Now I try to carve words into stone and have discovered a knife won't do. It takes a chisel and hammer. I chip away at many incomplete sculptures, try to figure out, what was Mona Lisa smiling? Or should I ask, at who? Thank you.
Thank you. That was fun. Francis Flavin, please.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon there. It's morning still here in Nevada. I've got fighting some respiratory thing, whether it's COVID, flu, cold, RSV, whatever. We got quite the menu these days to pick from. Anyway, I have two rather short ones. The first one is called Emily. By most account, you were given to privacy and marched to your own measured pace. No longer. You have been drawn from your grave, a reluctant phoenix, born of inference and supposition. What little of your personal life you revealed has been expanded manifold and exhumed for curiosity and causes. At the cemetery in Amherst, people have leave pencils, pens, fresh flowers, and acorns. What they don't leave is you alone. Second one's a little more fun, maybe. Fooling around. I was the prince of fools and kept a fool's counsel and gave a fool's advice. I was an expert in all things foolhardy. And then I became the king of fools, looking to fool all, but foolishly fooling only myself. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think we had someone named Gerald Narland in the group. I don't see him anymore.
Glenn,
James,
he's from Winterset, Iowa. It's out in the country, and sometimes he has trouble with connection. He's part of our writing group in Des Moines.
excellent. Well, if he pops back in, we'll get him up as quick as we can so that while he has a good connection, we can hear from him. James Nicola, please.
Yes, hello, everybody. Can you hear me all right? Is the microphone close enough? Beautiful. So continuing in Emily Dickinson theme from Amherst, for my money is, of course, the greatest poet ever. And it's National Poetry Month. So I got two ballad form poems, also known as common meter, which is what she usually wrote in. Also, you know, if you get her collected, she wrote in the 4 categories the editors divide her stuff into is love, death, God, and nature. I think those are the 4. So these are 2 poems from my collections. This is called Wind in the Cave, and it's from Finishing Line Press. And I just read this last week at a live event, and people bought books. So I figured I'd share this. Expectation. The first time that I saw the guy, I smiled, and he winked. I didn't know what he was trying, if at all. I blinked. The second time I saw him, he saw me and then half waved and then with a finger beckoned me. I went and he behaved so warmly that I felt the great balloon inside my gut start to fill with his warmth, inflate, and I felt happy. But the 5th and 9th and 12th times that I saw him, all he did was nod and look away. What? Thought I. And then he hid, or sort of hid, which was much worse. So the balloon keeps growing, as empty as the universe, as all the winds keep blowing. If only he'd not thought to pick me as one to pursue. If only I could feel the prick so long, long overdue, then maybe the balloon would stop inflating. Maybe I would celebrate to feel it pop and be able to sigh again. So, darling, if you find that I don't smile or wink, I'm cruel only to be kind. Now dry your eyes and think, because you see, I sorely know what you are going through and would not ever want to blow up your balloon for you. Wind in the Cave, Finishing Line Press. Check it out. And another from a published book that I read from last week. I read this poem just last week in Manhattan. Live events are starting up again. And people bought this book. It's called Fires of Heaven. This one is a cover by an artist from Lexington, Kentucky. And this is by William Blake. This is Fires of Heaven, Poems of Faith and Sense, also in ballad form. Face to Face, a True Story. I saw God face to face today and was not even dead. he told me that he was a she as well. I understood. She then said, he, she, it, or they, whichever you prefer, for we're beyond the scope of we, us, they, them, him, or her. I rifled through my holy book, then heard the voice again. It whispered, let us have a look, as if they'd never seen the thing. She didn't have to say, for in a flash I knew, divinely, telepathically, what I'd believed was true was otherwise. Nor find it odd men use he all they can when chiming not the word of God, but the words of man. Fires of Heaven from Shanty Arts, they're up in Maine. Thank you so much for listening and for being wonderful, everybody. Happy Poetry Month. And thank you, Glenn.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming today. Patrice Wilson, please. Hi, Patrice.
Hello. I'm sorry I missed the last couple of months, but it's been kind of up and down for me. But I'm here today. It's good to see everybody and hear everybody. It's really good to be among poets of your caliber. And I have the last poem I wrote is called In Response to Some Good News. And it's refers to a story on the nightly news where two little girls were conjoined at birth, and of course that's a big problem. And so they were able to unconjoin them in response to some good news. We all want this, some kind of connection, communion, union, permanent sharing. But when nature rebels and twin girls are, God forbid, conjoined at birth, our heart wrenches, pains for their freedom to live the liberties of separateness. What we need first, in order to be full solitudes that touch into union. And then these girls, unshackled by some kind of modern man-made medical answer to prayer. Amazement, which is hope fulfilled, flows down in tears while the future smiles on their coming years. In these dark days of sad, sad stories, we come away with something glowing, an inkling that maybe changing means growth into more perfect unions beyond what we now know. And it being spring now, I thought I'd read a haiku called Spring in the City. I'll read it twice. Spring in the city, pink cherry blossoms drop petals onto cement. Urban renewal. Pink cherry blossoms drop petals onto cement. Urban renewal.
Thank you for that. And thank you for coming today.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
Bob Moreland. Hey, Bob.
Belated happy birthday to you, Glenn.
Thank you.
And let's see. Whoops. This
I've
is
made-
one of those days where like everything really goes wrong. So, all right. My first one that I'm going to read for you today is called West Feliciana Parish Blues. To the southwest, lightning illuminates cloud banks lurking in the humid spring night. Mississippi artery pumps russet flows in silence as the old New Roads ferry makes its last run across roiling currents. It has been storming all day this Easter. Tepid clouds stirred early, blocking the sun, while by mid-afternoon, thunder growled. 4 generations of family gathered. Tornado watches announced across the parish as egg hunts and tosses occurred beneath tumultuous, threatening skies. Heavens opened, rain's staccato drumbeat on the tin roof reached a fever-pitched roar. The Louisiana lilt of words picked my ear. Southern born, my tongue Yankeefied by years spent in Boston and the Midwest. The simple beauty of life's brief waltz was captured in congregations of babies and growing children of children, seeing the mortal in the immortality of it all. How fleeting is this life? We live as though we feign forever, yet we have but a mayfly's day. As the hourglass drips sand and the numbered heartbeats reach their end, the aging partners postpone their dance, surprised when the clock begins to chime midnight. Thank you. So there's one state in the Union that has parishes. That's Louisiana. So, and this one, this is one of those, since it is April and it is April Fool's, and this was actually published in Inwood, Indiana, when I first met Glenn a couple of long years ago. This is called April Showers and has one of those lines that you never thought you'd be able to use in a poem. April showers. I love you naked. Skin on skin, radiating warmth, spooning together, holding you with my hands. Spring rain falls gently. Thunder growls slowly, rattling panes. You sleep, spent from afternoon delight, and I watch you breathe, peacefully embracing bliss. Smell of rain drifts past the garage sale curtains. I listen to your heart, blood coursing rhythmically, sign of mortality, holding that instant of life. The metronome of the shower marks the moments lost in rapture, and I'm blessed to hold eternity in my hands. Thank you all. And I'm sorry, but I have to leave.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Natasha, are you here? Okay. And let's see here. Linda Imbler, did you want to try again or no? No, I'm sorry, couldn't hear you. Not quite sure what's going on with that.
Okay, for some reason, the mute thing is in a different place. Yeah,
There you are.
I'm like the poor last guy that was having kind of a bad day. I was also having, I apologize for having to step out of the view for a while. I was having a mix up with a spider. So, you know, some days like that. This first poem is called A Chant Echoed. When searching, don't forget the symphony wrapped around the universe. Those notes we hear while serving as disciples of the God of nature. Female turkeys do not gobble, but only cluck. Female mountain lions chirp. Male elk bugle. Peacocks scream. A delightful display of sounds repeated, pronounceable blends of sounds that echo because the stars and the stones show them kindness. Thank you. This next one is, believe it or not, it's called Dog. Open these gates, grant them entry, let them have soft beds within to lie. They who come 2 by 2, as before the first deluge. Peaceful slumbers, then hares and squirrels to chase, gladly in this new place. Fur blown gently in soft breeze, protectors and companions these, loyal and true and so eager to please. Next to man, they are my finest masterpiece. Give them water pure, fresh food and golden bowls, but mostly give them a person for their own. For this one desire, make this wish come true. Some never had such a thing, and for others, it's the only thing to make here look like home. Give balls for play and chew toys that fit in mouths. Let them nap under large elms when fatigue overwhelms, all safe and at peace inside this holy realm. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you all have a wonderful Easter holiday. And I will see you hopefully next month. Thank you all. Well, actually later this month, the last Saturday of the month. Thank you everybody for coming today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you again.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Happy belated birthday.
Take care, all.
Thank you, KB. Congrats on your book. Bye, Edward.
Thanks.
Happy
Happy
to
belated
Thank you.
birthday.
Francis, Gary, Patrice, James, Ron, Lynette, thank you for coming again. You're always helping keep me company before the event. I appreciate that.